Hello everyone. Gonna do a quick walkthrough of our home and just share some memories I have pretty much in each room. This is something Sarah and I had always meant to do, but she wanted things to be a little bit more perfect before we made a video like this. There was just some projects in the house, some home improvement stuff that she wanted to finish up. Reason I'm doing it now is that I realize that sooner or later I am going to have to leave this house. It's not a single income home. So I just want to, like record this for posterity. So, yeah, as I said, you can see the house. Over here's our front yard. We didn't do it often because when it's warm enough, due to the proximity of the pond and the stream, there's often a lot of mosquitoes out here. But this front lawn was nice for playing bocce ball, which we would do occasionally. You can see our driveway. Just keep on circling around. The detached garage. Up there, you can see that big tree. Sarah, she loved naming things. We were naming things all the time, whether it was the black bear Braden that would sometimes come into our yard. He had a complete backstory that he had an online girlfriend named Cinnamon from Cloquet, and his greatest hope was that someday he would get to actually meet her. Anyhow, that big tree, Sarah always referred to it as the mother tree. That's where the birds perch when they're waiting to come down to the feeder and get their seed, or where the squirrels would usually like scamper up and down. So over here you can see the attached garage, which is a blessing in the winter. Those little stairs lead up to the landing outside the kitchen, which we will see later. And now we're just heading into the entrance. We really don't usually use this door. It's just, would come and go through the garage. We won't be going into the garage because, it's just a garage and nothing really interesting to see out there. Make it sure I get this closed. Okay. Hope you can see Mochi. Hi, Mochi. We'll talk about Mochi a little bit later on. I'm just going to kind of close the door with my foot here. It's a heavy door. Okay, we always referred to the little hallway here as you come in as the cave. I think you can probably see why we called it that. You see little alcoves set into it. People who've seen our previous video will recognize the Robert L. rods on top that we gave to ourselves as a housewarming gift when we first moved to Duluth. Down below is a series from a artist named Emma Ralston. I believe she's in England, and we commissioned those, and they're just various scenes from the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Not a whole lot of memories to share in the cave because it's mainly just a connector. We would come and go. Not like we actually spent a lot of time in here. Hi, Mochi. Hush! Mochi, hush. You go upstairs. Go upstairs. Good boy. Okay, down here. What we'll see down here, these are Sarah's father's Geiger counters. He was a scientist. In fact, he was one of the first scientists when the Cold War ended to be exchanged with China. But Sarah liked having things in pairs, and especially setting around entrances, and she would refer to them as guardians. So her father's Geiger counters are the guardians of the cave, and as such, kind of guard the entrance to our home that we most often used. Moving in, this door over here to the left, that's a little laundry room. Really nothing interesting to see in the laundry room. You can see our coat tree. Sarah always called this the Santa Fe chair. She would be able to tell you so much more about the history of the chair. Also the history of the house. But I will share what I can. But unfortunately, she was really the repository of knowledge in those things. She was all about history and context. We go up, there's a little shelf above the Santa Fe chair. We zoom in on that. That's a painting that Sarah's mom done. Just a little house in the snow. Sarah loved winter and she loved the snow, so it's kind of an appropriate painting to have there. Different view of the cave. What's kind of neat about the cave is, I don't know if you can really tell it on the video, but the hallway is set at a slight angle. And in the summer, if I were to open the door at the end of the cave and then open the main garage door, the cave acts as a wind tunnel, and it funnels the wind down through the cave. And then when it hits the spiral staircase here, the wind just spirals on up to the upper floors. It's actually kind of ingenious. I know for a fact that it was intentional because the guy who designed and built this house, very, very brilliant man. And I'll just show you some of what I mean as we move through. Right here's a bathroom. One of the things that Sarah hated was the collar in this bathroom, and it was one of the things that she wanted to update. But I won't go too far into the bathroom because, it's a bathroom, not really a whole lot to see there. Here's the sink where we would brush our teeth together every morning. I do love the mirrors here. I particularly love the way they reflect into infinity. I think you can kind of see my hand. I'm not wearing my glasses, but I think you can see the way my hand's reflecting. But again, this was the bathroom. If we move on in through this way, we come into the guest room. Treadmill's a new addition. It was ordered slightly before Sarah went into the hospital and delivered once she passed. So basically the idea for it was that since I won't be able to hike during the winter, this is just a way that I will be able to keep in a little better shape. Yep, just a little area. Closets. There's our bookshelves. People who saw our previous video know that we have quite a few books up on top, just various odds and ends. That little fake bouquet there at the end of the bookshelf. Yes, we know it's ugly, but that, when we moved into our first apartment, was left by the previous tenants on top of the refrigerator. And when we moved, we took it with us, not because we necessarily liked it, but just as a memento of our first place together. If we move on down here, you'll see again what I was talking about. Here on the end of the bookshelf, there's two little bears, and they are overlooking the sliding glass doors to the patio. So they are the guardians of the guest room and watch over that entrance. Over here's our downstairs record player. Both of us really like things that look and feel and sound old-timey. This was actually a housewarming gift that my mom gave us when we first moved up here, and we have had many, many hours listening to records and dancing with one another on this little record player. Over here, futon folds out into a couch. Well, because that's what futons do. A little wicker settee. Sarah just absolutely loved these pillows. There's one on each side. She just thought they were the cutest things with these little deer with their flowered wreaths or crowns on their heads. And she was just so pleased when she found those pillows. This right here, photo of Sarah's grandmother, I believe. And over here is my great-grandpa Frank and my grandpa Rose when he was a little boy. She had the frame custom made, and she and the person who was making it did their best to try to match the wood as closely as possible to the other frame. As you can see, it's not exact, but, you know, it's close enough for government work, and we were very happy with it. Over here, bees and honey poster. Sarah loved bees. Oh my God, she loved bees so much. Can't remember where we got this poster, but she fell in love with the poster the moment she saw it. Over here's another poster. It's just basically different garden vegetables. Okay, we're going to go out onto the patio here for a moment. There's our little supply of firewood. You can see the front yard again. Beyond the raspberry bushes there is the pond. You really can't see it very well because it is extremely low. We've had a drought this summer. Here's our little patio set. And we would sit out here in the mornings just drinking our coffee and talking, and especially in the winter when everything was quiet, just listening to the wolves howling off in the distance. There's something like 800 acres of wilderness right beyond the sauna there, which basically we just use for storage. I don't even know if the furnace and everything else in the sauna actually still works. This little guy here, he's a solid concrete alligator. We found him overgrown in some underbrush at the edge of the property. Kind of cut everything away from him, drug him back here. He weighs a ton. Sarah named him Après la Gare, which I believe is French for after the war. And it comes from the Paul Simon song, Renee and Georgette Magritte with their dog after the war. But we liked him. We always wanted to get another little concrete animal and put it out here as well to serve as the guardian of the patio. But that is something we never actually got around to doing. Okay, this little thing here in the wall, when we first moved in, we thought it was some sort of a strange poster holder. But we soon realized that this actually opens, and it slides across and goes in front of the sliding glass doors. Sarah always referred to these as the zombie doors. We would deploy them when there was high winds and we didn't want anything blowing around and perhaps coming through, breaking the sliding glass doors. We would also use them in the winter. We would put them in place because it would kind of help keep the heat in down here a little bit more. Okay. Now we'll be going up the stairs to the main level of the house. Kind of dark in the stairwell. This central pole here you can see silhouetted. There's actually little holes in it every so often, and it's my understanding that there was originally LED lights that you could turn on that would kind of like brighten it up. But we can never figure out why those no longer worked. Okay, now we are on the main floor. This picture is just something that she had recently brought home from her mom's house after her mom passed away. It's called Mutton Jeff. Over here we see a Laura zombie print that my sister had sent us. Above that, this light is what Sarah always referred to as the boob light. I'm going to turn it off so we can see it a little bit better. And go over to the side. There we go. I think you can see, probably see why she always called it the boob light. This door at the top of the stairs goes into our bedroom. Here's our two desks. During the pandemic, this is where we spent most of our weekdays together. She would work at her desk, working from home, and I would work at my desk. And we would just sit there and, talk as we worked. And, we really loved just being able to work so closely. She is the best office mate I've ever had in my life. Best person I've ever known in my life. Since I only really work from home one day a week anymore, I have kind of turned my desk into a little recording area where I play around with my banjo. You can see the microphone, the M-Track digital interface, and just my studio software. And it's just something I do to pass the time. I don't really consider myself a musician. I am not good enough for that. But it's just something I experiment with mainly. My degree from Lake Superior College. That over there, I can't really get to it, but that is a proclamation declaring us Lord William Todd Rose and Lady Sara Gray Beveridge. We got that because we had bought a very, 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 very small plot of land in Scotland. Heading over this way, you can see our bed here. The comforter that's on it, she specifically picked this out because it was so colorful. And she picked it out because she had surprised me with my glasses that allowed colorblind people to see a little bit more colors, and so she just wanted something for, like really pretty and colorful for me to look at when I got my glasses. Over here is another bookshelf, her C-3PO from when she was a kid, a little mini bouquet that she had dried. I had picked her up for lunch at work one day and just gave her that little bouquet. Down here, our little Moomin figurines. I had never heard of the Moomins. Apparently she grew up reading the Moomin Valley books, and she introduced me to them, and I just absolutely love them. A little box. This had once contained a birthday gift that was given to her from her brother Paul. Not sure what was originally in the box, but she had the box up here on the shelf. A little cross stitch that our friend Candy Dawn did for us. William was too long, so it was shortened to Will, but it has Sarah and a little heart and Will. And then it has BYSTEF, which was our personal shorthand for By Your Side Till Eternity Fades, and that is how we would sign our emails and letters to one another. Can't really see this very good, but that's a print on canvas that she sent me while she was still living in Cleveland and I was still in Virginia, and we were doing the long distance thing. The tree over here has a heart carved into it, and it has William plus Sarah, below it, TEF. It's all digital, so the tree wasn't actually carved in, but yeah. Over here, my side of the bed, her side of the bed. Oh yeah, this right here, very dark. You can't see it, but this is one of my College of St. Scholastica sweatshirts. College of St. Scholastica is where I work. Most of the time we lived here in Duluth. Sarah worked at the University of Minnesota in the registrar's office, and every Halloween they would have the option of dressing up, and she would put on this sweatshirt and carry around a little backpack and act kind of lost and confused and ask her coworkers if they knew where the chapel was. The idea behind it was that she was a cross-registration student from CSS going to UMD. Maybe you have to be in higher education to see the humor in that, but we thought it was hysterical. She hated this giant light bulb light. She always wanted to replace it with something that was a little more Art Deco, such as that light right there. But yeah, that was one of the projects that she wanted to do, was replace that light. Over here's our little trio. The wolf is from around the year 2000 or so. That was actually mine when I worked at Coldwater Creek, and it sat on my desk to identify me as one of the team leads. Behind is a little raccoon. I believe that was made for her when she was just a little kid. In front is the little zombie I sent her when we were still doing the long distance thing. It says, "I love you for your brains." Anyone who knew Sarah knows that she just absolutely loved zombies. Longest time I thought that little zombie was white. That was probably the biggest shock to me when she gave me my colorblind glasses. I was like, "He's not white at all." And she's like, no, he's a very light blue. And it was just something I could, a color I couldn't see. Okay, we're going to move on now. We're going to go in here into the kitchen. She hated the wallpaper in the kitchen. She wanted it updated. We spent a lot of time in the kitchen just, like cooking and talking and listening to music. Sometimes she would be cooking and, I'd be doing the dishes as we went along. She always insisted on being able to see my recliner from the kitchen, because sometimes she just wanted to cook alone, but she liked being within a line of sight so that we could talk easily while, perhaps I was in there playing, Fallout or, what have you. I'll step out here real quick. This is just a little landing outside. A little bit more of the yard. There's our bird feeder. Over here is the chairs we would set in and watch the chickadees and the chipmunks and the squirrels just eat at the feeder. And she would just sit there and talk to them and sing to them, and they actually got quite used to us. There's a little chipmunk now. The chipmunks would come right up beside her, almost perching on her feet. And chickadees are actually very social little creatures, so they would come all around our chairs and just perch on the back and what have you. This is the little chair down here. We always referred to it as the angel chair. We got that when I worked at United Healthcare when we first moved here. I had a friend there who was having some medical problems, and they were having a fundraiser for her, a silent auction and what have you. So we went, and Sarah insisted on putting a lot more down on that chair as a bid than most people probably would. I think she put the bid as $200, and it wasn't that so much that she loved the chair and just had to have it. Her thought was that if anyone did love the chair that much, then they would have to bid more than $200, and that would give Jody more money. And if no one else bid on it, then that would still be a fair amount of money to go to help Jody. There was a couple other items that we did the same thing for, and that's just the type of person Sara was. I mean, she was always very generous and giving and wanting to, help others. There's our little lion door knocker from our last video. We had planned on getting a companion piece so we would have guardians of the kitchen here, but that never actually happened. Okay, going back into the house. Over here's our tiny little fridge. You can see a outdated Moomin calendar. Going around to the front, there are Strange Planet cartoons. She liked printing out ones that were relatable to our lives. Little West Virginia magnet besides some Minnesota magnets. Sara always liked to say we had a foot in both states. And as I mentioned, it is a tiny little refrigerator, which is why we have a second refrigerator and a deep freeze down in the garage. Now we'll just go into the living room. The dining room. Over here is our house rules. Again, our friend Candy Dawn cross-stitched this for us. A lot of people realize that we have house rules, but I don't know if they know why we have house rules. Before we got together, Sara and I had spent most of our lives taking care of other people. And when we moved up here together, we decided that we were going to be a little selfish and that we were only going to take care of one another. So that's how the house rules came about. No pets, no plants, no kids, no house guests over 36 hours. Now, of course, in the video, you've noticed Mr. Mochi, and you're thinking, wait a minute, that rule says no pets, but Mochi is not actually our dog. We love him. He's a good boy, but he is actually Jeff, Sara's son, Jeff and Tabby's dog. But he has been staying with me for quite some time. They've been generous enough to let little Mr. Mochi Man stay with Grandpa, which is nice because, sometimes the best therapists have 4 legs, nasty breath, and like to lick you on the face. Over here, our dining room table. Took us a long time to pick this out. We were probably looking at tables for 6-7 months. But, that's just the way, Sara was. She was very deliberate and thoughtful and liked to plan things out. Over here's our upstairs record player. Again, has that old-timey look. All of our records. And up here we would again listen to records. We would dance in the back part of the living room, which we'll be seeing in a minute. Sometimes we would have dinner in our chairs, but other times we would sit here at the table. This was always her chair, and this was mine. It just wouldn't have felt right for me being at one end and her at the other. It was just too far away, so we always just sat right here. And when we had dinner at the table, we would usually listen to the Ink Spots band from the 30s and 40s. Like I said, we liked old stuff. Okay, ran out of time on the first portion of the video, so I had to start a new one. This is a little display cabinet that separates the dining room from the living room. Hush, Mochi. Originally, with the guy who lived here, he was really into snowmobiles. In fact, he is in the Snowmobile Hall of Fame, which I never knew there was such a thing. But Sara would have been able to tell you so much about him, about the house. She loved doing research, and originally, I just want to back up a second, and she loved doing research. She did it for fun, something that she enjoyed. And when I say research, I don't mean that she was going on YouTube and finding videos that would um, back up what she wanted to believe and serve as confirmation bias. No, she did qualitative, quantitative methodologies, triangulation of data. When I say she did research, she did real research, and I have no time or patience for the people who claim to do research these days, because I feel like every time I read that on the internet that they are just basically smacking Sarah in the face, and it just pisses me off. Anyhow, so this display cabinet used to contain antique snowmobile engines. It's very solid, very sturdy. We actually painted it. Painting was one of the projects that she wanted to finish. Sarah was Catholic, so there's some Catholic iconography here. Down here are some of the games that we like to play in the evenings. You'll see in the little bowl there is Farkle. It's sitting atop a backgammon set. There's some cribbage, Mancala. Over here we have our dominoes and our little Scrabble tile holders. I gotta move this chair so I can get in here. As mentioned in our previous video, we almost always had a ongoing game of chess at any given time. We had just recently started this particular game, which is why none of the pieces have been taken yet. But you can see over there, that little marker always just let us know whose turn it was. You can also see her Qing soldiers, and I'm probably not having the right enunciation on that. Sara spoke and read Chinese. Her undergraduate work was actually about Chinese culture, so she would have undoubtedly corrected my pronunciation. But as again, the soldiers are in two, and they're in a pair, so they are the guardians of this area, and look over the living room and dining room. Old clocks. Down here, a little bit more Catholic iconography, but it is also with some Buddhist stuff of mine. Way up here on top, a piece of the Zen birch art that she was doing. I think it's probably backlit and silhouetted, so you can't actually see it. Moving on into here. Here was my recliner. Is my recliner. That was Sarah's recliner, which doubled as our recliner. Whenever we would finish with our workday, she would sit in the camo chair. I would sit in my chair, and we would have one of our games here on the coffee table between us, and we would just sit and watch some of our favorite shows, like the Andy Griffith Show, Addams Family, WKRP in Cincinnati. We would just play our game, and once the game was over, then we would both move over here, because this thing is big enough that it serves as a cuddler recliner, and we would just sit together and watch a movie. Dinner was always the last thing that we did at the night, so we ate later than most people. And the reason for that is that if Sara ate food, she was immediately asleep. She would go into what she referred to as a carb coma. So eating dinner always had to be the last thing we did right before bed. There's some windows. Over here is our TV. Our Banksy Tri-Pict, there is always hope. Other side of the display cabinet, some of our DVD collection. There's more inside the little ottoman down there. So over here is just a little memorial area I set up for Sara. These two mugs, I had those custom made and surprised her with them as a housewarming gift when we first moved in. Back there is her doctorate. So proud. So proud of her when she defended her dissertation and was awarded her doctorate. She worked so long and so hard on that. Dedicated so much of her life to it. Over here is the little kneeler she ordered during the pandemic. I think you can kind of see her rosary. It's also got my prayer beads with the prayer wheel on it. I never actually used the kneeler because, well, I'm not Catholic. But during the pandemic, when we did not leave our home, she had a genetic autoimmune disorder, so for over 18 months, she would go outside, but she really went no further than the mailbox. So the kneeler and these beautiful stained glass windows here basically allowed her to have her own private chapel during the pandemic. These stained glass, they came from a church that was demolished here in Duluth. The church was originally built in the 1860s, and Phil is the guy who designed and built this place. I'm not sure if he bought them, but somehow he got them from the church before the church was demolished. It actually opens up, which is why this corner's kind of blank, is just to make sure that there's really nothing that would get in the way of opening them. There's a storage area behind, and just a wall of light bulbs, which is what makes it glow when it's turned on. But anyhow, the hardware, like the hinges and the clasp, they came from Phil's grandparents' farm. Over here you can see our curio cabinets. These were a gift from Sarah's sister Ona for Christmas. They were handmade by a man in Iowa. And just various odds and ends inside. See like our little preserved insects. Down here, more preserved insects. I can't remember what type of eel, but in that little globe is some sort of preserved eel. Just various odds and ends, little trinkets. A jackalope that our friend Mark had given to us when he came back from a trip somewhere. I can't remember where. Portrait of George Romero that our friend and artist Richard Cox in Florida had painted for us. Old dictionary that Sarah brought from her mom's house. She said that this was a staple during her childhood, that it was always there, and that the stand that it is sitting on was actually made by her father specifically for it. Here is our other curio cabinet. Again, more preserved insects. The globe over here has a sheep's brain in it. A bunch of insects down here. You'll see this little guy here in front, and then these two little guys here. They are from a company called Forgotten Boneyard, and it's an artist who basically just takes like little fragments of bone and fashions them into fantastical creatures. And Sarah had ordered these for my birthday one year. Old globe, my grandfather's binoculars, skulls, little box. Okay, over here is just some musical instruments. My resonator banjo is usually on the empty stand, but I was messing around with it in the bedroom last night, which is why that stand is empty. You can see the little mandolin, violin or fiddle, depending on how you play it, harmonica. Of course, my mountain banjo that I made was kind of my COVID project. Sarah was always so damn supportive of any little thing that crossed my mind. When I really started getting into hockey, she ordered me hockey jerseys, hockey t-shirts, and when I told her that I thought I wanted to make a banjo, she was like, "Do it!" So just always so supportive of everything, and she was really excited about this banjo project, and I'm glad that she was able to see it completed. Again, out these windows, you can see the pond. Again, super, super low. These windows are really nice as far as the view goes. A lot of southward facing windows in this house, which is nice in the winter because it gives you extra, a little extra heat. In the summer, there's no air conditioning up here, so in the summer it can get kind of rough. It can get like really hot in here. But the big windows. Another thing about winter is though that being that big, potential source of heat loss. And so we usually would cover them up with plastic. The big ones, super hard. We had done every other window in the house. Was that last winter? Winter before last? But we'd done every other window in the house. And we had started working on this one behind the upstairs futon. And it only took us a couple hours for all the other windows. But on this window, we were probably working on it for 9-10 hours straight. Sara was the type of person who, if she started a project, she did not like to leave it unfinished. She wanted to see it through to completion. So it was like, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, and she's still fighting with this thing. And I am exhausted, so I am like just sitting over here in my chair for a second. And she just turns around and says, "What was that, hun?" And I hadn't said anything, and I, told her as much. And she insisted that she had heard me say, I can't remember the exact words, but the gist of it was, that which confounds will be made clear in the morning. But we were both exhausted, so I finally convinced her to just, let's just go to bed. We can finish this in the morning. And when we got up the next morning, and she woke up a little bit, grabbed the hair dryer to, to keep working on the seal there, and it just immediately went into place. So, kind of like, proving that what she had thought that I had said the night before was true. This is our hang drum. She loved our hang drum. We used to have a smaller one that was like a lap size, very portable. But when Devin and his girlfriend Olivia came to visit at our old place, Liv loved that little hang drum so much, and that when they left, Sara said, take it with you, it's yours now. Again, just a very generous, giving person who just wanted to do what she could to make people's lives a little happier, a little better. But she loved this drum, and she just loved the sounds. It's probably one of her favorite things that we owned. There's actually some mallets down there that you can also play it with. Okay, we are actually almost done with the house here. I want to close that so I can show that. So while that's doing its thing, is there anything else to mention in this room? Oh yes, there is. The chandelier here above our table. Those, I can actually see it better with them on. Those were actually made from snowmobile exhaust pipes. And we always just thought it was so pretty and so interesting. This little door here, or what appears to be a door, is a door to nowhere. It doesn't actually have a knob. It doesn't open. It always intrigued Sara. And that was one of the things that we were eventually going to do, was find a way to take the door down and just see what was behind it. We're pretty sure it was probably just pipes and wires and what have you. But she was really intrigued by it. Okay, so here's what I wanted to show you. This hallway is like super dark, so the boob light I just turned on doesn't really help. This goes up into what we always referred to as the watchtower. There's a little button here on the wall, and when I hit it, this little mechanical hatch opens up. The guy who built this place, this is not something that he had made for him. This is something that he had made himself. He actually built, not only designed this place, but him and his brother actually built like everything here. Okay, I'm just going up into the watchtower, coming up. Okay, here you can see Gorzak number 1. Gorzaks were toys that her sons had had when they were little. Over here is Gorzak number 2. So now the Gorzaks serve as guardians of the watchtower. There's actually a bag in the closet downstairs where she had made them like little winter coats and little hats, and it was just really cool. So here's the watchtower. Spent mostly time up here in the winters. We would have a little fire going, and I would sit here, and she would sit over here. And you can see we have like little travel dominoes there, a little travel chest down there, so that way we could sit up here with a fire going and just still play our games in the evenings and just watch the blizzards like just rage out through the watchtower's windows. Interesting thing here in the watchtower, this spider here, that is actually made from orthopedic ball joints welded together. Yep, so if you get like a knee replacement, shoulder replacement, that's what's actually put inside. The web that it's on, of course, is chicken wire. We had always wanted to get like tiny little like human figurines and wrap them in white thread and just have them attached to the chicken wire spider web for like a little snack for the spider, but never got around to it. This door is something else that she wanted to have finished. All the doors in this place weigh a ton. This is a solidly built house, definitely designed to withstand Minnesota winters. Step out here, we are on what we called the observation deck. Sara did not really like coming out onto the observation deck, especially over the last year and a half to 2 years or so. She had almost a crippling fear of heights. So she did not like coming up here because she was just, afraid that she would fall off. And over here to the side, we can look down into the pond. We can see the little footbridge over there. This place, the property here is just littered with little footbridges that cross the stream. Again, the front yard, the driveway. I'm just going to circle around the watchtower entirely. And then back inside. And so there is one more place I want to go. I'm going to stop the video because I'm not walking there and just keeping blabbering the entire time. So I'm going to stop this video, and then I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, back again. Coming down into the area that Sara had dubbed the fairy ring, and the name just kind of stuck, so that's what I always refer to it as well. Being very careful. I'm glad I was able to get out here before the rain started. I can feel like little drops here and there, but nothing really too bad yet. And you can kind of see that it's a ring of trees, which is why she called it the fairy ring. There's our little chairs. There's a little path I just came down. A little pile of firewood. Right in the center, a little fire ring. Now, and normally the stream here would not be so dry, but again, it's been horrible drought this summer, so under normal situations this stream would be like gurgling and burbling and just flowing through. You can see another one of the footbridges there. I had found some of the missing pieces and was going to repair that footbridge, but haven't gotten around to it as of yet. Just more of the stream. Over that way is a little path that goes back. Eventually, if you follow that long enough, it connects up with some state snowmobile trails, and if you follow the snowmobile trails, they connect with the Superior Hiking Trail, which is modeled after my beloved Appalachian Trail. Just to show you how close this was to the house, there's the sauna. The reason I'm showing you the fairy ring is this is where Sarah and I had planned on getting married. We were going to have the ceremony here. Originally, it was going to be December 20th of 2020, but COVID kind of threw a monkey wrench into that. And yeah, but she loved this area down here. I'm just going to head back to the house now. Heading back just a slightly different way than what we came. Got to be careful on this footbridge because of the missing pieces while I'm holding the camera. Okay. We'll just cut through this little area. More footbridges, you know, of course it's autumn, so they're covered up with leaves, which means I have to be careful as well in case they're wet. She loved how this bridge was formed around the tree that was here, that instead of cutting the tree down to make room for the bridge, that Phil modified the bridge. There's a view of the pond. You can see how dry our ferns are and dead. Okay, I'm just coming along here. You'll see these old fence posts. As you go along the edges of the property, you can see where they used to be, and they're kind of falling apart and dilapidated. We had talked about restoring them, but then we decided that we actually kind of liked the way they are, that it lent to the history of the house and the property. Okay, coming up on the mother tree. And then we're just back here to the patio. And it looks like it's timing perfectly. The rain is starting to pick up a little bit. So that about does it for this little walkthrough. If you made it this far through the video, I just want to thank you for hanging in there. I realize this has been kind of long, and want to thank you for just listening to the memories I've had. Happiest, by far, happiest days of my life were with Sarah, and a lot of those happy days were spent here in this house and on this land. So this place will always hold such a special place in my heart. And I'm just glad that I could share it with everyone.